This is episode 327 of jumbleThink.
T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to jumbleThink, where we interview dreamers, makers, innovators, and influencers, all about their journey of turning dreams and ideas into reality. Along the way, we're going to share some tips on how you can turn your own dreams and ideas into reality too. Our guest on today's show is Jim Cummings. More about Jim in a moment. Whether you're a new listener or a longtime fan, you've never subscribed to jumbleThink, head on over to your favorite place to listen to podcasts, search for jumbleThink, and click subscribe. To make it even easier, you can head on over to jumbleThink.com. You'll find links to places like Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Pandora, and more. So head on over and subscribe to jumbleThink. Now let's jump into today's conversation. Hey there, friends. Welcome to jumbleThink. My name's Michael Woodward. I am your host, and we have a really super special episode and conversation for you today. Now, if you were to walk into my office, throughout the office, you would see a whole bunch of notebooks throughout the office. Now, on my desk, there are 3 special notebooks. There is a large moleskin notebook that has my interview notes of what I want to talk to guests about. You would see a smaller blue moleskin notebook, which is my bucket list. And we'll talk about that more another day. And then you would see this small pocket-size burnt orange moleskin notebook. And in that notebook is a list of 97 names currently. Those are my dream guests for jumbleThink, for the podcast or radio show here. Some of those names have been checked off. We've checked off over 22 names on that list. People like Phil Rosenthal from Everybody Loves Raymond and Somebody Feed Phil, LeVar Burton, Reading Rainbow and Star Trek Next Generations, Meb Keflezighi, he's won the Boston Marathon as a runner and competed at the Olympics. We've talked to Bill Sheff from The Late Show with David Letterman. Today, we get to talk to another person from that list. His name is Jim Cummings, and you may not recognize his name, but I can guarantee that you recognize his voice, because he voices some of the most beloved characters in all of animation. Characters like Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, the Tasmanian Devil, Darkwing Duck, Ray from The Princess and the Frog, Pete from Mickey Mouse, and hundreds of other characters from Disney and beyond. We get to talk to him about creating voices, about his journey into being a voice actor. We get to talk to him about being Winnie the Pooh and how they create characters through the very voice, the story that he tells in those cartoons. I am super excited about this conversation. I'm not going to waste your time anymore. We're going to go ahead and jump into today's conversation with Jim Cummings. Jim, thanks so much for taking time out to be with us today.
My pleasure, Mike. How's it going out there?
Oh, it's another day in quarantine paradise. So
yes, that's right. That's right.
How are you dealing with the whole lockdown and the world, the new world we live in?
Well, not bad. So far, so good. It's, we're all just getting to know each other a little bit back at the house here with me and Peggy and the kids.
Yeah.
So it's all good. It'll all come out in the wash, and this too shall pass. Put it that way.
Yes, for sure. Well, I have to say, my youngest daughter is a massive Winnie the Pooh fan. Growing up, I was a massive Winnie the Pooh fan, still am. And to have you, the voice of Winnie the Pooh, on the show, what an honor. It's really cool to get to chat with you.
Well, it's just as sweet as honey to be here. So that's lovely to hear.
Oh, thank you. You are the voice of like 1 billion and 2 characters. Actually, looking over, I think it's a couple hundred, including the Tasmanian Devil, one of your favorites, Darkwing Duck, Pete from Mickey Mouse, Tigger. You do so many voices. You could just go on and on and on. You even did Ray from The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah.
And great movie. I loved that one. Not
Me
enough is
too.
done in New Orleans.
Yeah, I agree.
And New Orleans is dear to your heart, right?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, it's kind of like my second hometown. I love it. Love it, love it. Used to have my house there over in Algiers Point and sold it a few years back. But, still love to go back and get back for Jazz Fest. We're slated to go see Elton John there.
Yeah.
In a month or so. And I don't know. I hope we're still going.
I looked through your story, and you start out in Ohio. You end up in New Orleans. You're designing and painting Mardi Gras floats. You are then moving to Anaheim. Talk to us a little bit about that journey of finding this career of voice acting.
Yeah, well, it was something I always knew I was going to do. But, I knew I was going to do it. How I got to it really didn't matter.
Okay.
It's kind of like I guess you could say, I understand that's an aspect of the law of attraction, which I didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
But I'll take it. If you have your goal and you envision that and you tell yourself, the way I looked at it is, and this is obviously a long time ago now, but even in the 80s when the idea finally coalesced as an adult, I said, the fact of the matter is that there are people who do this for a living.
Yeah.
I'm going to be one of them. That's all.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, one thing led to another, and I made my demo tape and I auditioned for my first job, and I was very fortunate. Thank God, I got that job, and it lasted for a year and a half, and it was a steady work for a year and a half right out of the gate. And then by that time, I had an agent, a full-time agent, and I had I was doing radio spots, TV spots, and it was kind of off to the races.
Yeah.
And here I am 36-something years later.
Wow. And that first show was on a fledgling channel that was just starting out, Disney Channel, of course.
I understand they did rather well.
I guess that they've made it. They've arrived to some extent.
They're squeaking by.
Yeah. And that was Dumbo's Circus, and you did Lionel the Lion for that. You get that opportunity to go there, and you've worked through kind of figuring out that this was a passion, a pursuit that you wanted to do. What was it like to get that first job and go, oh, I've made it?
Oh, it was great. I didn't think I made it, but I knew that I had certainly, job one was getting in the industry. And
yeah.
And I just told myself, well, I said I could do it. I wanted to do it, and at least I've done it. And I just have to build on that and build on the next building block. And, and it was kind of like assembling it, plank by plank.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It was wonderful. It was very fulfilling because, I think we're all, I always tell my kids, my nieces, nephews, anybody, schools, wherever I'm talking to, I tell kids, when you're coming up, make a list of things that you love to do so much. You would do them all day long for free.
Yeah.
And then do it so well that somebody will pay you.
Yeah.
And that's job fulfillment right there. That's you're cooking with gas, as they used to say.
Yeah. We still cook with gas. It's the best way to cook.
Yeah, man. So it's good.
You've gotten to this place where you've done so many different characters, and you mentioned that this was something that you wanted to do. You were working towards it. When did that spark start to say, oh, was it watching a cartoon? Was it seeing somebody else who did it? When did that spark to be the voice, a voice actor, actually start?
It's probably about 4 or 5 years
Okay.
old. And my dad told me, we're watching TV and Mel Blanc was on the Jack Benny show.
Wow.
And he said, you see this guy here? This guy, he does all those voices, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and Porky and all those that you like to watch. And I said, oh, no kidding. And I was thinking, well, heck, he's not getting told to go stand in the corner for making weird sounds and dolphin noises and everything. So I thought, well, let me do that.
Yeah.
And it's something I like to do anyway. And I knew it already at 4.
Wow.
Because I was doing weird impressions. I would do impressions of my relatives and then ultimately my teachers, of course. And now a few of my relatives, several of my relatives, and several teachers, and an old shopkeeper or two here and there. And all these people that I met over the years, riverboat captains, and they've all made it into cartoons.
Yeah.
They've all been cartoon characters unknowingly.
Yeah. And I found that interesting. I was watching a couple videos of you sharing about the process that you work through and how you create character. And you talked about the difference between when something moves from imitating someone or an impression of someone and into character. And you talked about how character happens when you're putting someone that doesn't belong, their voice, their sounds, their personality, into a place that doesn't belong, or you create a character when you combine different places. So talk to us a little bit about finding the voice of the characters that you create.
Well, it always helps when you have a model.
Okay.
When you see the character design, and then you'll get a instant first impression just off the physical appearance, just the way they look. And then you've got the writers, producers, and the voice directors, and they've got the character personality down. Like Darkwing, Darkwing wasn't the biggest guy, but he wasn't teeny tiny, so we couldn't use a lot of mileage there. He's not going to sound like a giant, but and then at that point it's kind of like they said, well, we want him to be, he's definitely animated. It is a cartoon, but he's not going to be cartoony. He's not going to be, like Goofy or Beanie and Cecil or, a Smurf where it's flat and run, and it's got to have a little more realism to it.
Right.
And then of course, then you layer in the fact that he's a guy, he's Batman. He's just, doesn't even really necessarily have the money. I'm not sure where he got the money for the Ratcatcher and the Thunderquack, but as long as he scraped it together, who cares?
Yeah.
But he had this great ego and without any superpowers, but it could have fooled him. He still thought he was the best, the bee's knees, etc. And so you fill in the blank and you kind of fill it out with the personality, and it's a bit of a molding process. Right. For a while, they were thinking of calling him 00 Duck, and he was going to be British. Oh. And that would have changed everything, Yeah. But that was scrapped. Apparently, they own 007 owns 00 anything. Kind of like Robo Duck was turned into Gizmo Duck. Yes. Because RoboCop was a copyright. And you just kind of mix and match, and with an established character, the first thing is you go back to the DNA, and it has to sound like Pete or Pooh or Tigger, whoever, when he coughs or when he cries or when he stubs his toe or when he yawns or when he snores or when he sneezes. It all has to sound like that character. Mm-hmm. And it has to be in character that people know and that they understand, because it's, continuity it means everything. Yeah. Mickey Mouse still sounds the same today as he did in the 1920s. Yeah. Yeah. So do you find it harder when you're developing a new character, or when you're going back and taking a beloved character like Winnie the Pooh or Tigger, one that's already established? Which one's harder for you to kind of find and craft that voice inside of yourself? Geez, neither one. There's no, like with an established one, you're either going to nail it or you're not. Right. And then, I'd prefer, I think I have a pretty good blend, actually. I was going to say, I can't really say I like this one over that one, because it's like trying to choose your kids. You can't do it. But, I don't have a real great preference, and one's not necessarily harder than the other. They're both very, very rewarding, and that reward comes with the people's reaction when they get a kick out of it, when they like the show, when they react to it. There's no real great difficulty. Put it that way.
Well, it's
all good.
It seems to come easy to you. Obviously, that takes lots of practice. What is the kind of practice routine that you have for creating this? Do you watch a lot of the previous footage? Do you look at just the sketch art? How do you go through that process of preparing? Well, the thing is, it's each little project will have its own peculiarities and its own details, but
the thing is, you're an actor first. People say, well, a voice actor, and Jess Harnell has a good way of putting it. He says, yes, we're voice actors, but it's a small V and a capital A. And the way I think of it is we're just basically character actors who are performing characters. And if you're an actor, you're an actor.
Yeah.
You're performing a little old 800-year-old Martian or a 20-year-old Earth kid, from Mississippi. You're acting. And, we're performing characters. Like I say, we're all people who do what I do. We're basically character actors, and we're doing characters, and that's just what they sound like when they speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the preparation is in the acting.
Yeah.
It's in the, every moment leading up to that.
Yeah. I know as a musician, I, sing, and then I hear recordings back of my singing, and it sounds different. Is that the same way for you, where you're hearing the voice in your head as you're creating it, but it sounds differently as you watch it back in the finished form?
No, I remember when I was in third grade thinking, boy, is that what I sound like, when I first heard my voice recorded? But that was just me speaking as a kid, it wasn't. Whereas now I'm so used to it that I know exactly what I'm doing, and I know how to address the mic, and I'll know how it's going to come out. So my days of being surprised are over.
Okay.
I might hear a take back and say, oh, gee, can I, I think I can give you a better one, and I'm good at doing that. That I'll do all day long.
Right.
But not to the extent that it's like, oh, gee, I didn't think it was going to sound like that.
Yeah.
It better sound like that.
I love the creativity of what you bring to the process, because animation by itself, it's like a silent film, and to an extent there's personality there in the character, but you bring these characters to life.
Well, thanks.
And there are so many people that are really touched. Maybe it was a moment of their childhood that just warms their heart. Maybe it's a moment they go back to, and it with their own kids, and they're watching these shows or movies as their kids are growing up that you've done. What does that mean to you to know that the characters you create, the way you bring them to life, impacts millions of people around the world who are watching the characters, the cartoons that you're voicing?
Yeah, I take it very, I always say I don't take myself seriously, but I take my work seriously because it is impactful to people. And, I've heard so many stories over the years. I mean, things that would just bring you to your knees. The different things that people have gone through, and, whether it's Pooh or Ray or Tigger or Darkwing, and the craziest characters will mean something to people that you would never imagine, and they have these wonderful stories where I was down, but this character brought me back up and made me feel better about myself. And, and it's like I say, I take the work very seriously, and I know that it's meaningful to a lot of people. And I think Pooh and Tigger in the 100-Acre Wood, that, they came directly from children's literature and bedtime stories in the 20s. So there's an endearing quality sort of baked into them already. And, and I cherish that. I respect that. And I want that. I want that warm, fuzzy feeling for everybody who needs it.
And we need it right now.
Yeah, we do. We do. We always will. We always have. We always will. And, I believe in the sanctity and the wonder of childhood.
Yeah.
I made it my personal business. I have 4 daughters that I've raised, and I made it my business to make sure they believed in Santa Claus for as long as they could.
Yeah.
As many years, they were 24 before they all thought that they knew that there was no Santa Claus.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I might be exaggerating a bit, but no, I do. I take it very seriously, and it's, I know that it's an honor. It's an honor to bring that kind of sunshine into people's lives.
Yeah.
Because it means something to them, and if it's meaningful to them, then it's meaningful to me, and I respect it.
one of the things that we do as we bring on a guest to the show is we watch what they're doing and what they're creating. And on your Twitter feed, one of the things that stood out to me about you that I couldn't catch from just watching the cartoons or I couldn't catch from reading a bio was simply how hope-filled you are and how you want to bring hope to others.
Oh, good. Thanks.
This is a crazy time that we're in. How are you keeping that hope and that joy in a season where so many people are locked in fear and uncertainty?
Well, I learned a long time ago, and I think it's one of those lessons that we tend to teach ourselves a bit. I must have been in 6th grade, and I was in trouble playing around and doing my usual cutting up and class clown stuff, and I thought, and this kid walked down the hall that was a real jerk and a real goober, and I saw him walking there, and I thought, God, I would rather be him right now than me. And he's a weasel. Nobody likes him. You know what I mean? It was that kind of thing. And I thought, hold on, wait, that's crazy. This too shall pass. Because you wait, how many times I will not make dolphin noises in class, like 50 times on the board. And I just wanted to crawl out of my own skin and be anybody else. And then, 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, I realized the intensity of that feeling that I had, that sense of doom and gloom, and my life would never be the same again. And of course, I'm in 6th grade, for crying out loud. I think I'll, logically, you're going to make it. You're going to, at least to 7th, right?
Yeah.
But, there comes a point where you just have to realize that, what do you want to think about the, to compare it to what did people think of the Holocaust?
Yeah.
What was when the invading army, when Alexander the Great came over and or Genghis Khan moved into town, you were doomed, but yet somehow or another, we all still came out on the other side in history, and we're all still here. And, I always say, with my girls, I've always said, everything's going to be okay. You know why, girls? Because everything is going to be okay. Because everything's always been okay.
Yeah.
We go through tough times, but let the tough times go through us.
Yeah.
We don't have to hold on.
Yeah.
It's no matter when you say it, and my girls, it's a joke now. We'll be driving along. I mean, I have them in their 30s. I was married twice, and I have 2 younger daughters, 2 older. And I say, you know what, girls? And they go, yeah, we know, Dad. These are the good old days. And I said, yes, they are. And because it's a family expression, I said, you know what, girls? These are the good old days.
Yeah.
And we know, Dad. We know.
More true now than ever before. I think in a lot of ways, the season we're in right now actually is reminding of us of the things that matter, reminding us of the things that are significant. You talk about your kids. I have 2 young kids, and it just reminds us that we need to slow down and see the amazing gift that we're being given in this season.
You bet. Absolutely.
We are going to take a break right here. When we come back, we are doing rapid fire questions with Jim Cummings and possibly a few extra special friends. We'll be right back. Have you ever felt a little scared or overwhelmed to share your dreams and ideas with your friends, your family members, or coworkers? Those dreams and ideas that just seem so impossible because they're so big. Well, finding a community of people to support you in chasing your dreams and ideas is really important. And here at jumbleThink, we want to help. One of the ways we do that is by sharing inspiring stories like Jim's story on how you can turn wild and crazy ideas, crazy dreams, big dreams, into reality. But another way we do it is through the jumbleThink Facebook group. It's a private group of idea makers and dreamers just like you, sharing our obstacles, our fears, our victories together. When we dream together, when we chase those ideas together, they become more real. They become more tangible because we have a network of people just like us supporting us and cheering us along the way. So if you felt kind of on the edges or felt like you can't find your community of dreamers and idea makers, why not head on over to Facebook and connect with the jumbleThink Facebook group. To make it even easier, all you have to do is head on over to jumbleThink.com/group, and it will take you right to the JumbleThink Facebook group. We look forward to seeing you there. We look forward to encouraging you, challenging you, and giving you the tools that you need to chase those dreams and make the ideas real. Now let's jump into rapid fire questions with today's guest, Jim Cummings, and possibly a few other friends.
Attendez. Restez calme pendant un moment.
As we move towards the end of this episode, I have a couple rapid fire questions about the world of voice acting, but then our regular rapid fire questions too.
Okay.
So the first rapid fire question, we're going to start with your characters. What's your favorite character that you love the most to create?
Oh gosh, I've got. I don't have one. I have several. Pooh and Tigger are in their own category, and then Ray from Princess and the Frog. I really, really love him. Darkwing Duck is way up there, and then also somewhat more recently is Hondo Onaka.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorites of all time. So it's kind of like picking your kids. I got 5 favorites.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and Pete's up there as well.
Yeah, Pete's pretty cool. My daughters watch Mickey's Clubhouse, and they love Pete. That's one of their favorites.
Well, good. Pete loves them right back.
Oh, that's awesome.
Daddy can't miss you if you don't go away.
What is one character that you wish you could have voiced?
None. I did them all that I wanted to.
Okay, so you were never one of those voice actors that wanted to do Mickey or Donald or anything like that?
No, no. I'm doing the ones I do plenty. I'm okay.
Which comes first, animation or the voice?
The voice.
The voice.
Yeah, the models come first, but they're not animated. Yeah, and then because it's kind of like you do a radio drama.
Yeah.
Because you can't draw comedic timing. You can draw it if you hear it, but you can't draw it out of thin air.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we record first, then they take it to the storyboard artist, then they animate, and then it's a cartoon.
Now, Christopher Robin obviously came out in the last couple years. Killer, really. One, I think the best live action versions of a cartoon that I've seen by far. Loved the storyline. It was just so incredibly done. And you got to do voices both in the cartoon and the live action.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a favorite version or iteration of Winnie the Pooh?
Gosh, I thought the 2011 Winnie the Pooh self-titled movie was incredible. It was among the best that we've ever done in 2D.
Yeah,
I think it stands head and shoulders above so many. And then Christopher Robin was a different, as you say, iteration. It's it's not quite apples and oranges, but it's close.
Yeah.
It's oranges and tangerines. I don't know.
And both are sweet.
Yeah, they're both amazing. Yeah.
2011 version had an incredible soundtrack. I know Zooey Deschanel was a part of that, and a bunch of other really cool songwriters. So a couple final rapid fire questions for you. We're all about ideas and dreams here at JumbleThink. So if somebody had a big idea and dream and they didn't know where to start, what would you tell them?
Well, I can tell you about a friend of mine who she started. Her name was Deb Adair. I haven't seen her in a while now, but her thing was she wanted to be a recording engineer, and I've spoken about this subject with other people as well. And one thing if you want to be, it's kind of like you hear about the head of ICM started off in the mailroom.
Yeah.
Well, my friend started off getting coffee for the people who did work in the studios, and then the engineers, and then she was rewinding tapes, and then she was stocking them, and then she was blocking things, and then slating this and slating that. Then she slowly started, working her way into a recording engineer assistant, and long story short, in about 12 years, she ended up winning an Emmy for sound design.
Wow.
after starting at getting coffee and donuts and rewinding tapes and things.
Yeah.
You know, you get in the, you get in the river you want to swim in, and just start with your toe first.
Yeah.
You know, get your foot wet, then dive in. Next thing you know, you're swimming upstream.
Yeah. And I think so often people, they don't like small beginnings. They want the grand victory right up front. And I think that small victories and building upon that, it's a huge place to live and grow from.
Yeah. You know, if you want to be a general, you don't go down to the enlistment thing and say, hey, I'm 18 years old.
Yeah.
I'm here to be a general.
Yeah.
You're probably going to start at private.
Yep.
You know.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, somebody who cared, somebody who mattered, and who realized the value in spreading a grin and spreading joy and spreading happiness and capitalizing on it. And, what's the expression? Accentuate the positive.
Yep.
You know, downplay the negative.
Yep.
And, that type of thing. So you don't want to take yourself too seriously, but treat others the way you would like to be treated yourself.
What is one trend you're currently excited about?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. I don't even follow trends. It's like, I'm looking forward to, I got some irons in the fire here.
Yeah.
That don't have to do directly with me doing voiceover. I'm just kind of expanding some things, but stay tuned, and you never know what'll happen. Never know what I'll be coming up with next. And when I say tuned, it's TOONED. Stay tuned. That kind of.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. That sounds like a fun little project there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited.
We shall see what we shall see.
Yeah.
Me too.
And the final rapid fire question for today is, what is one dream you are still wanting to fulfill in your own life?
Let's see. Bucket list. Well, maybe, who knows? Maybe do some writing, write my memoirs, see what happens.
Super, super cool. As we wrap up, I hate to ask this, but can some of the characters just say hello as we wrap up today's show?
Well, certainly. Don't forget to stay dangerous. Darkwing Duck here. And stay just as sweet as honey forever. And don't forget, when you're down in the dumps, just bounce on out of there and keep on bouncing. Otherwise, it would be ridiculous.
Well, there you have it.
Thank you so much for taking time out and doing that for us. I appreciate it. And we wish you the best through this coronavirus chaos, but I can't wait to see this project that you were just sharing about and see what you announce.
Okay. Stay tuned. As they say, I will be there. Well, God bless you one and all. And say your prayers, take your vitamins, and don't forget to vote. And, this too shall pass. I'll see you on the other side of the tunnel.
So
because the light's ahead and it's not a train.
Love that.
All right, Max.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Once again, I want to thank Jim Cummings for taking time out to be on today's show. You can find links to his Instagram and Twitter in the episode notes. Now, on a personal note, what a crazy, crazy honor to have him on the show. I was thinking back to my earliest remembering of Winnie the Pooh and Tigger and the whole gang, and I can think back to having this blanket probably when I was a baby. It was made for me, and on one side it had kind of a map of the Thousand Acre Woods and Winnie the Pooh and Tigger and Owl and all of his friends and Christopher Robin. On the other side it had a green backing to it, and I just remember it being one of my favorite possessions of all time. I don't know what happened to that blanket, but I remember having it and just loving it till the day it disappeared. I think of what Winnie the Pooh means to me and to millions of other people around the world. It is a story of overcoming obstacles and facing your fears. I think of the episode about the Humphalumps and how they have to face this unknown monster, and yet the monster doesn't seem as bad when they find out there's no monster at all. super cool stories in Winnie the Pooh that can encourage us, whether we're adults or children, during this crazy time. Thinking of our childhoods and remembering those memories and remembering how everything worked out through our lives is such a good memory to have, such a good remembrance of how to live today. And that's my challenge to you today. When we're a child, when we're young, we have an innocence of anything's possible, and that even in the bleak moments, there's always a better moment ahead. And I hope that's your takeaway today, that life is going to be okay. It's going to get back to a new normal and a better normal. Maybe one that we remember our family and our kids and taking time to slow down and really enjoying life, observing what's happening around us instead of constantly doing and being on. And that's my challenge to you today. Don't forget these moments where we're having a reset to what matters, to what is significant. Remember what it's like to be a child, to have fun, to go and explore, and to go and imagine. These are great memories. These are great lessons we can take away from childhood. Thanks again for tuning into today's show. It means the world to me that you would listen. Now it's your turn to get out there, to dream big, and to change the world around you.
Les mères de famille, les enfants, peuvent également prendre un moment revitalisant. Dans quelques mois, lorsque vous aurez bien saisi la technique et que vous serez maître de votre corps, vous pourrez vous décontracter même en travaillant.